Hi, I was one of the many millions all over the world who saw Spider Man No Way Home last weekend. It's been a runaway sensation, one of the biggest films of all time, opening at the box office, and had fantastically good reviews. It's a difficult film to talk about without giving away spoilers. The makers have the makers have tried to be very careful about how much is revealed in the publicity campaign, but even so, a lot has leaked out. I'm going to divide this review in half. For the first part, I'll talk about without spoilers, and then you can disappear if you don't want to find out anything else. But in general, I thought it was terrific. I think it's probably the best Spider-Man film we've had so far. Um, by pushing the character into a new environment, the idea that his identity is now known to the world, it forces Peter to rethink his relationships with the people around him. I thought that the themes about responsibility and friendship, and in particular the idea of not fighting a villain but saving them from themselves, from their own greed, from their own weaknesses, from their own problems, not just writing them off as evil and to be defeated, but to help them to emerge from the dark shadow of themselves. I thought that was a really great original twist for a superhero movie. It's a film that technically does have villains, but not in the conventional sense and not combated in the conventional sense. The production levels were, of course, of the Marvel standard, very, very high. It looks fantastic. Um, and an excellent supporting cast. Benedict Cumberbatch is the kind of new mentor figure for Peter. And they have a nice relationship where neither of them wants the other to be in that position. Stephen Strange really doesn't want to be the mentor figure, but he takes on the role because he knows it's the right thing to do. I like that they still have Doctor Strange having this edge of he's not really that nice a person. He's basically a good person, but he's not nice. He's kind of a dick. Um, so overall, I thought it was fresh and different and original, completely engaging, really enjoyable, but with a bit of an edge to it. Highly recommended. Now for the secret post credits part of the review. Um, so this is all spoilers now. The movie has a lot of people and things in it that they've tried to keep secret and failed. Some of them work better than others. The audience, there seems to be a consistent case that the audience cheers when Andrew Garfield appears as one of the alternate Peter Parkers. But then when Tobey Maguire appears, silence. The relationships between the three Peters, I thought, worked extremely well. It really rehabilitated the Garfield version because his two films are not good. But no one ever said that he wasn't a really great choice to play Peter Parker. And here he really almost becomes like the emotional core of the story, whilst Tobey Maguire's Peter is sort of the elder statesman, the wise figure who's seen it all, who's managed to keep uh, keep his status as being Spider-Man whilst also maintaining his relationship with Mary Jane. And elements from the previous films get paid off. So the Maguire Spider-Man's relationship with Otto Octavius comes back and becomes a major element in the story. Um, Garfield's Spider-Man is able to um, expunge the guilt of um, Gwen Stacy's death in Amazing Spider-Man 2 by saving the life here of MJ and finding redemption through that. It's all these threads picked up from these films over the last 20 years, none of which were meant to be picked at later on, but expertly interwoven to create these richer versions of the characters. We also have the huge palette of villains as well, who I think were all in the publicity. So we have from the original Tobey Maguire movies, we have Willem Dafoe as Green Goblin, Alfred Molina as Otto Octavius, Thomas Hayden Church as Sandman, and from the Amazing Spider-Man movies, Rhys Ifans as the Lizard and Jamie Foxx as Electro. Ifans and Hayden Church are basically just motion capture and voice work and aren't even credited on the main credit block at the end. It's really Fox has an interesting role. It's quite supporting, but he gets more personality. I think it's more of a plausible characterization than he had in the previous movie. But it's really down to Defoe and Molina. Um, Octavius was always, I think, the best Spider-Man villain out of all the Spider-Man villains we've had in the various movies. Molina's Octavius was the best, and it carries on here that he's a much more interesting and varied character. And Defoe as well, where we see the split in his personality, the frightened, guilt-ridden Norman Osborn, and then the monstrous Green Goblin, um, which Defoe manages to play this time without the silly plastic mask, really utilizing his facial dexterity. Um, we also have other twists in the story. I mean, I did say that I was going to do spoilers. So they kill Mary. They kill Aunt May because there is no Ben Parker in the MCU. So our Peter, the Tom Holland Peter, has to go through the same thing that Maguire Spider-Man and Garfield Spider-Man have already been through, and they help each other through that. There's a wonderful line where one of them says that they never realized that they wanted brothers, and the three are like brothers, and they have that really wonderful, mutually supportive relationship because each understands what the other has been through. As I said, the supporting cast is great. The twists in the story work so well in weaving together all these threads into a satisfying whole, bringing to a climax 20 years worth of Spider-Man stories. But then at the end, finding a way to start again afresh with a clean slate and a clean palette, with Peter Parker, once again the anonymous Spider-Man, being able to go out and fight villainy and cruelty wherever he sees it. I enjoyed it enormously, and the audience I saw it with enjoyed it enormously as well. It's one of the best superhero films I've seen in quite a long time. Certainly within the MCU, it ranks up with Endgame and I think the first Guardians of the Galaxy and Thor Ragnarok. Certainly, it's the absolute top echelon. One of the best superhero films I think we've had in an extremely long time, and I'd recommend it very highly indeed. Because I think even knowing all these spoiler things. Oh, and Charlie Cox appears as Daredevil from the Netflix TV series. He has a cameo. That also got an audible reaction more than Tobey Maguire did. But even with all this knowledge, it still doesn't compromise what is, I think, a really great film and wonderful entertainment. It's fantastic.